Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session of the Launch and Learn series. I am Praise Benson, a junior digital marketing executive here at FutureSoft. Launch and Learn is a bi-weekly program where each staff gets to train people on topics relating to our industry. If today is your first time joining us, you are welcome. David Woruka, our lead branding and design, will be facilitating today's session on the topic, a recap of 2024 brand trends and the future outlook. Over to you, David.
All right, thank you, Praise, for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone, once again. So today we'll be looking at a recap of 2024 brand trends and the future outlook. So I'll start with an intro, then we'll look at some design trends, that were significant in 2024. We'll look at some brand strategy trends as well. Then we'll also look at AI integration because that played a key role as well in branding this year. Then we'll also look at some predictive shifts, looking at the current data and also projected data to see where branding is headed in some of the areas we are going to be analyzing. And then we'll wrap up for the day. So first, I want to start with this quote from Confucius, which says, study the past if you would define the future, because that's basically what we're about to do today. So this session is just basically to reflect, some of the groundbreaking shifts, that shape branding in 2024. So while preparing for a future outlook, basically 2025 and beyond. So we saw design aesthetics evolve, to meet expectations of the modern market today. And then we also saw how some brands, use some of the strategy to navigate, the market as well. And then the key role or the monumental role AI played in helping enhancing creativity, personalization, and operational efficiency in branding. So basically, we're just pausing here to assess, where the branding landscape is headed, and then to see how we can be positioned, for what's to come 2025. So basically, we'll start with design trends first. In 2024, graphic design still continues to evolve. It has been evolving over the years, and this year is no different. We saw some twists this year where we saw an interplay between, minimalism and extravagance. We had people who defied the convention as well, with anti-design aesthetics. And we also saw motion and 3D play a huge role as well in branding and in design this year when it comes to design, the design aspect of branding. So, but as brands, try to adopt, they use, compelling stories, to see how they can evoke emotion and to see how they can foster deeper connection with their audiences. So we're going to be looking through some of the trends, that we saw in design for this year. So the first trend I want to speak about is minimalism with maximalist elements. Some people would say is minimalism meets maximalism, but what I want to just briefly run through are the key features of this design style, because this will be better visualized rather than going through the detailed explanation. So, but some of the key features are basically the clean layouts, and then with ample negative space, then you have strategic use of, bold and colorful accents or illustrations. And then you have also, pairing of minimal typography, and then also having maybe dramatic element of like oversized fonts. And they also have the harmonious blend of functionality and visual flair. So these are the key features of this design style. And one of the key brands that actually did this, Paper, earlier on this year, made a tweak to the brand. So if you look at the image on the left-hand side, you realize, you just have this white text with pay on white and on a black background, and you have the black text on a blue background. And then when you look at the designs to the right, you see how, there's a bit of a blend of a bit of colorful images and then with an overlay of text above it. So this is using paper as an example, but there are a couple of brands that actually employed this year. And this is something we've seen growing gradually, and it was huge this year. And PayPal is in the forefront of that using it. And then we're also going to look at another design trend as well, which is anti-design. Anti-design has been around for a long time, as a matter of fact. But anti-design, for quite a while, for maybe more than two or three decades, has actually gone low. A lot of people have not done designs along that line, for the most part of it, maybe a few niche markets. but it's a design style that is intentionally chaotic, it's unconventional. You have clashing colors, distorted, oversized, misaligned typography. The whole purpose is just to intentionally break the rules so that you can evoke emotion and curiosity. But most often, it conveys authenticity and individuality. This is not a design style most brands, can adopt. And one brand that has actually been able to effectively use that was Envato. So for those of you, virtually all of us here should be able to know Envato because I mean we get resources from platforms like this every now and then, and they also rebranded this year, and after the rebrand, this is the design style they start employing. So you can see how chaotic and how scattered it looks, but this is a trend we're seeing coming back as well, and it's something to note. So specifically for me, I would say it's more suited for creative platforms like this because it's very expressive and it actually breaks the rules, because we as creatives often see ourselves as rule breaker. So, but this is not a design style that might be suited for all forms of, for all kind of brand, especially B2B. This may not be the ideal, but there are certain B2C brands that this might be actually well suited for, depending on the audience they're speaking to, especially if you're talking to like the Orte, audience and all. I mean, this might just be the best approach to take in that direction of your design. And then as well, another design trend we also saw, that played a huge role this year was abstract gradients and color transitions. So basically, the image on the left here gives a glimpse into what that design style looks like. You have smooth, seamless blending of vibrant or muted colors. And then you might also have abstract shapes and patterns for an otherworldly, like when you say otherworldly, beyond the realm, we can feel, and basically this design style is a bit more versatile, because it actually works for almost any type of brand. And then in terms of the medium as well, in which it works perfectly for print and it works perfectly for digital. And we also saw Microsoft with their release of the Copilot plus species, they also embedded this style. So you could see here where you have the Windows 11, you could see this, sort of this light blue, and then you see this clean fade here, and you see this light blue. And if you look at this as well, and look at some of these designs, you just see that shades. So there are a couple of brands too that's still employing this. So one I could easily remember at the moment is GSA. But the reason why I'd actually had to use Copilot is because this is a more popular brand, So, but this is one trend we've seen. And when it comes to UI designs, actually, for fintech or for any other product you're using, employing this method actually give huge aesthetics. It also calms, the user. It actually, calms the nerve when you're looking at the image and sort of helps the navigation also to be easier. So, but this is also one of the design trend we saw this year. Then the last design trend I'm going to talk about, it's not really new, but basically looking at 3D and motion design. So motion design has been around for as long as I've known design and as well as 3D, but we start seeing the coming back of 3D designs, in the boom, or will I say in the boom or in the rush hour of NFTs. That's when we start seeing designs, 3D designs coming back. And then a lot of designers predicted that we'll see more of 3D designs in the years to come. And that's the reality we'll find ourselves. So a lot of brand this year, most of the rebrands that we've done this year, a lot of 3D were incorporated into it. But for the most part, motion was big, whether it was 3D or it was flat motion design. It was huge this year because, the amount of communication we're having are becoming more flexible, are becoming more interactive. And that's why a lot of people are leaning more to motion because it's actually more engaging, So, but when you use this type of design, the key features are, hyper realistic or surreal 3D renderings. You have integration of movement and animation, which makes it more interactive for your storytelling. And then the layering, the lighting, effects, and texture, will give you more depth. And of course, it's perfect for digital and immersive advertising. And then I want to use for those of you who are Gen Zs, pardon me for being old school, but I just want to use the MTV VMAs as a glimpse of it. So you could see, those 3D textures. And one of the things I want to point out too, why I've actually highlighted these trends in three different or four different angles It doesn't mean they have to be used in isolation. So when you look at this design as well, you understand that it has a bit of that retro feel, that you could see from the anti-design example I showed you, and you could see the color transitions as well, but still embedding 3D. And then I have a video that just gives a glimpse of one of the stuff I'm talking about. So you could see an ad like this. These are stuff we're beginning to see recently, where when you create motions like this, you have these sort of 3D display outdoor advertising screens and all. And it makes, the whole design and your communication looks more impressive. And for some cases too, it's still flat design, not 3D, but the motion is still very well implemented and it's actually, amazing. And the reason why we see motion, being a big deal in interaction, of course, there's virtually no social media platform right now that's not integrated video for their communication. And that's why it's key as well for brand to leverage this form of design aesthetics and design style for communication. And then we'll look into the we'll look into the brand strategy trends. So basically, the top trends, that I've picked out for brand strategy when working on my research, were basically centered on, purpose driven narratives, partnerships between brands and influencers or creators, and then also video marketing. And then there was also talks around data privacy concerns. So these are some of the key areas in terms of brand strategy trends that are really topping for this year. So, and when we're talking about purpose-driven marketing, so we're talking about going beyond selling products. We're talking about focusing on how you're impacting, the society, you're addressing societal or environmental issues, and that way, also building emotional connections, with your audience, because basically consumers are supporting brands right now that prioritize environmental concerns, diversity, and social justice. And for you to be able to approach this type of marketing, you have to be authentic. It's not something you do because, okay, this is something people are conscious of. You have to really, live the truth of your brand. And these are some of the statistics I got from the HubSpot Sustainability Marketing report for 2024. There it says 76%, of consumers believe that companies should try to improve the well-being of their employees. Some believe, should actively reduce the impact or the environmental impact. 58 believe companies should donate a portion of their charity, a portion of their profit to charity. And 55% believe that companies should advocate for racial justice or gender equality. So these are some of the sentiments you start seeing rising, among consumers. People are just tired of, having these multinationals being out there with all the bulk of the money, and then they leave all the social issues, the environmental issues just to the government. So you have people who are saying right now, brands need to be more agile, need to be more proactive in this way. We don't just want to buy your product, but we want to see how you're affecting lives within your community and in society at large. And I still have more data to show on this. When we'll get to that section, we'll go through that in a bit. Then also when it comes to data privacy, this is a huge issue, at the moment. It's something that's been talked about for a couple of years. And for so many countries, there's been, so many data regulations and data laws, enacted and put in place to ensure that there are ethical data practices. And in 2024, it's still a big issue. And a report from Cisco shows that 80% of consumers who are aware of privacy laws in their jurisdictions feel that they can better protect their data. So let me explain the trick behind that analysis. So the trick behind that analysis is the fact that the more customers, first of all, or consumers are first of all they are more aware of these things. So if they're registering your on your platform, they're putting details, tagging locations and all those things. People are more conscious of the fact that these things are stored and sometimes they are not used appropriately. And the more they are aware, the more they actually, see what they can do about it. So the more that awareness increases, the riskier it is for you as a brand to take data, protection or data privacy for granted. So it's not just a social issue anymore. It's actually a real issue that brands needs to actually, focus on and to ensure that, this is not something they play with. And especially, you have to be compliant with the regulations because there are laws actually enacted, even in Nigeria, around this to ensure that the data and information of your consumers are ethically used and are being protected as well. Then we talk about influencer and creator collaborations. We saw that severally this year. For those of you who are tech freaks, Marquez was, it was the talk of the town for the most part of this year when Sora launched as when OpenAI launched Sora, the video creation AI, generative AI. In less than 24 hours of the launch, he made a video and had close to 50 million views or so. Like he had a lot of views in a very short time. And then we've seen that trend also rise. And then one of the key part as well is brands actually leveraging micro influencers. So while you have the big or mega or macro influencers still being influential, a lot of brands understanding that they may not be able to meet up with certain budgetary, they work with micro influencers because it's easier. And then some of these people also creators, using Marquis as an instance, though he's bigger right now, but he started small. But there are a lot of people who do similar stuff and then brands use them. So you have those guys who analyze gadgets and then they get sponsorship by brands and then they talk to their audience. They actually do an authentic review of the product. And of course, they're talking to a niche market of people who are fanatics like them. So if there's some form of, let's say hanky panky in the review, that also affects, but in reality, the point is the level of authenticity that also brings, but if you're working on your brand strategy for next year, this is something you should look at, from Sprout Social as at the first quarter of this year, 38% of brands already partner with 10 influencers or less, while the remaining 62% of brands work with 10 or more. And then you have about 15%, which I feel this is on the upper echelon, has worked with over 1,000, influencers. So this is something you should look into when creating your brand strategy for the coming year. And I think there's still more stats about this as well when we get to the era of the predicted shift. Then also talking about video content, I mean, virtually all of us here, this is what we do lately. We share short videos, we share memes and all of that. And the online video content currently has a worldwide audience reach of 92.3%. So there's a session to where we show the live data on how this is actually broken down in terms of the content, the percentage of content people are engaging with worldwide on social media platforms. So then AI integration. Basically, you can't talk about 2024 branding without mentioning AI, because AI was at the top of every conversation this year. A few years ago, people were talking about virtual reality and augmented reality, but for this year precisely, eh, virtually everywhere you turned to, there was something being said about AI. And there were a lot of innovations as well around that this year. So AI is actually huge, was actually huge, had a huge impact in branding this year. So it's no longer, a consideration. AI is far beyond that point where it's something you have to consider as a brand. It's something you have to actually make at the center of your brand strategy. So when you talk about personalized customer experience, so you have several AI tools that can help in terms of, analyze consumer behavior and preferences, and then allow brands to deliver personalized experiences. So you have examples like dynamic websites and apps that adapt into individual users' preferences, personalized email campaigns and recommendation, chatbots with natural language processing that most of us are familiar with. So when you talk about dynamic websites and apps that adapt to individual users, I did a training earlier on this year. I talked about brand communication in 2024, co-creating with AI. And one of the examples I gave is the case of Netflix, where Netflix actually personalize your movie posters based on what you're streaming. So you could be if Netflix, from their AI algorithm observes that you're streaming more of horror movies, so they personalize majority of the posters, they recommend to you to suit that, And then why this as at then wasn't wasn't total for every movie recommendation, but there were certain movies that they were doing that with, and I'm sure they're still optimizing that, and it's getting far better than what it is. And the impact on using AI for this type of experiences is to build stronger emotional connection, to foster loyalty, and to, enhance the customer perception about the brand. Then there's also AI being used, to enhance creativity. So first, I want to really talk about the impact where I say AI doesn't, replace creativity, but it enhances it, because it enables faster iteration, unlocking new design possibilities and allowing teams to focus on strategy and storytelling. So you have generative design tools like Adobe Fireflies, which I want to talk about briefly. Lately Adobe actually started integrating, AI features. One of the highlight of it is generative fill in Photoshop. And I remember someone making a joke saying that finally Photoshop now operates the way the client thinks it actually does, which is, I remember the days where I used to work in a photography studio. You have people come tell you, okay, is there a way you could actually clone out their beards? Because they couldn't shave before they took their photograph, but they want to be shaved and they needed you to do that. And as a designer or as a compositor, then it was a job, but it was extremely, tactical to do that. And it was extremely difficult. But with, AI tools, it's easier to actually perform such, tasks. It's easier to actually enhance images. So it doesn't really reduce the creativity. It actually enhances it. So when it comes to copywriting as well for video creation, it enhances the creative process. It actually gives opportunity for creatives and businesses and brands to be able to actually tell more immersive stories and to be able to have more iteration of designs as opposed to where you could have two design options. It's easier to explore maybe close to 6 design options for your clients. And that's one of the benefits of integrating AI into the workflow. And when we talk about AI integration as well, we look at data-driven analytics as well. So this also helps brand in terms of, how they fine-tune their messages, they observe trends, and see how they make decisions. So you have predictive analysis for forecasting trends, customer behavior, and market shifts, optimizing ad spend by identifying what's working in campaigns and tweaking it. And also insights derived from, social listening. You have a tool like BrandWatch that has that integrated. And then also the Google ad also has the predictive audience behavior as well. With these features, these are features that were not available, but with AI algorithms, you can actually optimize your ad spend by actually understand and predicting what your consumers, might do. You see their purchasing pattern and see the decisions to make, see how you can segment your audience and all of that. And this is one of the benefits as well of integrating AI into your communication. Then you talk about AI enhanced collaboration. Some of us use Otter, and we have one of our corporates on our team, with the AI note taking and all of that. And then you also have, like I mentioned, in the case of Adobe, when it comes to Figma as well, you have similar plugins as well for iteration. They launched the auto layout a while ago, and they keep getting those type of features better. So basically, AI has actually been at the forefront of actually developing the brand process, both on the client side and also on the creative side as well. So then let's just go through some of the key data. So going by the data that are currently on ground for 2025 and the projections that have been made for 2025 and beyond. So it's clear that one, AI would definitely be still at the top, at the forefront. And I'll show some figures as well to actually verify that. It will actually increase how experiences are tailored to consumers. And then also ethical use of AI would be a big issue, and transparency as well would be a big issue when using AI, talking about data and all of that. Then we're still talking about purpose-driven campaigns, focusing on sustainability and inclusivity. It resonates more with consumers because they are being more socially conscious. People are being more aware of what's happening, and a lot of conspiracy theory in the midst of people also building, but in reality, people are being more conscious and people are being more conscious of their environment. They're being more conscious of their communities. So that's also going to be a huge thing for the year ahead and beyond. Same as well with video marketing. And in all of these, design will still play a key role because without design, you can effectively communicate some of this. When I talked about the personalization for Netflix, it's actually centered on design. When you talk about video marketing, I talked about the integration of motion and all. And that's why motion has actually become more of a big deal recently. And for the purpose-driven marketing, I mean, there are a lot of mind-blowing campaigns where, that are more visual when you use video. So design and video design is still going to be a central point of each and every one of this strategy. So let's look at some of the statistics. So this the four stats that are on this particular slide are actually from PwC, and PwC has presence in practically every region of the world, and they took 20,000 they did a survey on 20,000 consumers across 31 different countries and territories. And these are some of the things they found. And this report was released sometime in September. So consumers are increasingly prioritizing sustainability in their consumption practices. So we're as almost 9 in 10, which basically was 85% of the survey, say they are experiencing the disruptive impact of climate change in their lives. And 45 say they are buying more sustainable products as a way to reduce the impact on the environment. And then you have a situation where 80% of consumers say they are willing to pay more for sustainable and produced or sourced goods. So that is the mindset people are having right now. And then you also have in terms of data protection as well, 83% say that the protection of their personal data is one of the most crucial factors to earn trust. With 80% noting that they demand assurances that their personal information remains private. Only 52%, are confident in understanding how their data is being stored. So these are actually, research that were carried out recently, and these are projections you need to actually pay attention to, both as a brand professional when creating your strategy, and also as a client as well when planning for a strategy. And then in terms of social media influencers, they continue to drive sales with 41% of respondents noting that a celebrity or influencer has influenced their decision making or purchase. And then we go as well into video content. So this is where I was talking about breaking it down. So you could see the distribution of the percentage of video of content being viewed, and this was the data drawn in the first quarter of 2024, and it's a worldwide data, and it's from Statista. So I don't want to go through all. So, but some of the areas, brands could easily leverage. Some brands could easily leverage the session of comedy, meme. Some also can leverage live stream, and some educational tutorials how to, maybe for sports clip or highlight video, maybe not so much brand, but product review, and then influencer videos and vlogs. For gaming and sports match or commentary, that may not be so flexible for a lot of brands. So, but this is the percentage split on how people are engaging with content. And then when you go further, this from Sprout Social, which is similar to Buffer. So some of the data they've put together for 2024, in terms of YouTube, more than 500 hours of videos are uploaded to YouTube every minute. You have users are twice likely to buy something if they saw it on a YouTube video. 70% of users report that YouTube makes them more aware of new brands. Over 2 billion people stream videos on Facebook each month. Instagram Reels generate twice as much reach on Instagram compared to other post types, and you have post on X with a video get 10 times more engagement than those without. Half of TikTok users bought something after watching TikTok live, and you could see the distribution as well from the previous slide, where there is also a section for live stream, which actually makes 27%. And then you have 70% of Gen Z users who actually seek more information about a product after seeing a dynamic showcase ad on TikTok. So when you're talking about dynamic showcase ad, you're really talking about, immersive videos with interactive buttons, and one of the brands that has actually bothered everybody is Timo. I mean, if you have been on TikTok for the past 1 month and you've not seen Timo, I don't know the TikTok you're looking at, but those are the things, people are leveraging to ensure, that they actually reach their audience and they reach them well. So, and this is also a statistics on AI, which says that 68% of market leaders report, 68% of market report ROI on their investment in AI. 45% say AI tools make employees more productive, which also clarifies the fact that AI actually doesn't take away the creativity or productivity of your employees or the team. It actually enhances it. And then 48% of market leaders have invested in AI tools for their teams. Now, this particular data was actually specific to the American market, but when you look at the worldwide data, This is from the State of Marketing 2024 from HubSpot, and they sampled data from 1,400 marketers worldwide. And then these are some of the stats I just pulled out from there, where they say 77% of marketers who use generative AI say it helps them create more personalized content, and 72% of marketers who use AI in automation say it helps them personalize customer experience. And 7 in 10 marketers using AI and automation report that it helps them improve the overall customer experience. When it comes to AI as well, you could see the projection in terms of the finance from 2020 to 2028, by the market analysis done, by Statista. So you could see the market in billions in 2024. You have about 35.9, and that means by 2025, that's 47.3. That's over 10% increase. And then or about 10% increase or just slightly less. And in 2026, you could see the numbers and the figures are projected to be higher. And then when you talk about artificial intelligence, in terms of worldwide AI tools, you could also see the numbers are also going high. So which means AI is not really going anywhere soon. And then according to search trend released by Google in August, Nigeria ranked sixth, in Africa and 25 globally for search interest in AI. So this is not just also global data. This is something that actually that is also we can also leverage at home as well as a team. So, and then, yeah, we've come to the end of it. So, but the key things I just want to talk about here is when we're looking ahead to 2025, we anticipate that brands will double down on immersive and bold aesthetics. There'll be more hype, there'll be more personalization, and they're already using the term hyper personalization for a while now. And who knows what it's going to be. If there's anything, more intense than hyper, that's what we're going to see, from next year and beyond. And of course, because of the whole issue about data privacy and protection, there has to be ethical use of AI. Brands has to be more careful, and purpose-driven marketing, will be at the forefront because people just don't want to buy products anymore. People want to be impactful and responsible for their communities. And then in all of this, your brand, you must remain authentic, while leveraging trends. You don't just have to adopt every strategy just because it's out there. I mentioned, the video split, for that section that could be analyzed and you see how well it works for your brand and see how you can key into that. When you look at the data as well in terms of video marketing from the different platforms, you can also figure out the platform that works best for you because not all brands can actually be on TikTok. Not all brands can actually effectively be on Facebook, but for some brands, they are breaking the rules. They're actually putting themselves in these different platforms. I read an article that NASA and I'm yet to view their page that NASA actually started doing these how-to videos on Pinterest. Why is NASA on Pinterest? I still don't have an idea. But you have brands that are breaking the rules. But this is also talking about purpose-driven marketing. Because sometimes leveraging some other platform just to actually maybe teach people certain things in that line can also be a way of community service. It doesn't always have to be about direct marketing. So you could actually establish a channel for your communication just solely for social responsibility, solely to give out specific information that will help that community or help that audience. So that's something to note. And I think that's all for my session. So thank you very much. I don't know if anyone has any question, you can just ask.
Thank you so much for taking us through that
Yeah, thank you,
comprehensive
Prince.
review. Yeah, well done. All right, in the absence of questions, we can bring this session to an end now. And if you have questions while watching the video, kindly drop them in the comment section and we'll be very happy to answer your questions. Join us next time. Join us next year for upcoming sessions of the Launch and Learn series. Do have a good day.